Hi, this is Katie Young.
This is Josh Rucker.
This is the Wealth Effect where we talk about business, community,
personal development, and financial pathologies.
It's been a minute, Josh.
It's been a little while.
It's been a minute.
Like,
I missed you, man.
A fortnight. I missed you too, man.
In all honesty, I have moments where my vulnerability comes out.
Yeah.
And man, this is one of those moments.
Yeah.
I said to not be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I went out there. I love you, bro.
I love you too, bro.
I truly do.
Real talk.
I feel the love in this room.
Real
I
talk.
love you too,
Rich.
I was just feeling it.
I'm just in here.
Because I think sometimes, and I'm gonna speak for males, and y'all can speak for everybody.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, and I saw this post the other day. Males sometimes can have, and I say black males, 'cause I want to be specific. We have an issue expressing our emotions to each other in a way that's
Was that my
positive.
post?
I went your post. It was a post I had where this brother was hugging another brother. And he was like, bro, I love you for the simple fact that you are able to accept me for who I am in that moment.
No, that wasn't my post.
Yeah. You know what I think is funny? I've seen this before and I've heard it said before. How do you get one black man to tell another black man he loves him?
How?
A coffin.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
One of them got to die.
Hey, hold on, pause. Everyone on the podcast right now, we didn't introduce our guest because he's like a cousin.
Yeah.
he been here before.
Yeah. I'm sleeping on the couch.
Yeah. He finally got to wake up. So we in this today. So tonight we got Richard Tatum. One of my high school people, friend. I say friend, man, because I promise, like
friend, teammate,
all of that,
all that.
He was like the quarterback to my linebacker.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool deal.
So tonight we have a special guest, Richard or Mr. Tatum. Which one you want to go by?
You call me Richard. You call me Rick. Just make sure you spell million right. That's all I have.
Just
spell million right.
So tonight we got a special guest. We're gonna go straight into it. Tonight we're talking about addiction and vulnerability, but all those entwined together. And so let's go straight into it. Yeah. You said the only time that a black man is told "I love you" by another black man is in a coffin.
Yeah, somebody's in the coffin.
The question is, why is that? And the vulnerability piece, I want to kind of go through that quickly, but I want to get to the addiction.
Yeah.
But why can't we be vulnerable and tell each other we love each other?
Well, we kind of hit on this last time I was on the show. It's been a while, so But last time I was here, we talked about it. And being black males, when we're brought up to have two emotional boxes. Mm-hmm. There's happy and there's angry, and everything has to fit into one of those two boxes. Okay, and realize that there's all these different boxes out there, but we are not taught to identify those boxes. We are taught to identify happy or angry. Mm-hmm. Either it makes me happy or it makes me angry. There's nothing else in between. I can't acknowledge fear. I can't acknowledge hurt, disappointment, depression. Yeah. I can't acknowledge any of those. If it's positive, it's happy. If it's negative, it's angry.
So if you want to get that, what we just talked about again, go listen to the other podcasts we had Richard on.
Yeah,
because today we talking about
it was back in like November.
I wanted you to say that so they can go and because we broke down some components of why we can't, and that's why I was real intense like this. I mean, I love y'all, man. I really do.
Love you.
Like y'all love y'all
too, man.
I appreciate not putting me in the box.
But tonight is addiction.
So
addiction happens to all races.
Right.
So race don't matter.
Addiction is not discriminatory, as we say. It doesn't matter what color, creed, gender, sex, whatever. It hits everybody. It is an equal opportunity killer, is what it is.
Yeah.
It can affect anybody, and so I am a part of the recovery community here in Central Arkansas. I attend Celebrate Recovery First in LR. That's a Christian-based 12-step recovery program. Mm-hmm. And there's so many programs here in Central Arkansas, so many, not just faith-based, but secular as well. And then they all have different approaches and different issues they deal with. I like Celebrate Recovery because it's generalized. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to look at whatever this thing is we're dealing with. Yep. The term we use is the hurts, habits, and hang-ups. Those are those three things.
Hurts, habits, and hang-ups.
Hurts, habits, and hang-ups. Because when people hear the word addiction, they go, "Oh, well, I don't have an addiction. I'm not addicted to anything." Yeah. But you either have been hurt by something, you've got a habit that you're using to cope with something, or you have a hang-up, which is a mental change that affects how you view things. So one of those three, everybody's got one of them somewhere along the lines, and most people probably got all three. And so That's why I like Celebrate Recovery, is because it's generalized in the sense that we're not going to talk about your specific issue. I'm going to present the big idea and let you boil it down to how this fits
for you.
My situation.
Yeah. So now that we have I guess the way that people can go get help.
Yeah.
Can we describe or define? Because you gave a definition of addiction.
So I was curious. I wanted to know, well, how do people define addiction? And you know, a good place to start is the DSM.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't upgraded to the 5 yet. I still got the 4 sitting on my shelf.
So the 5 is a few years old.
It's time.
I promise you, 2 or 3 years. They changed a few words. Added a few more disorders in there, and you good.
So the DSM, or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Psychological Diagnosis, is what the psychological world uses to diagnose these different ailments,
disorders,
whatever you want to call them. And so that's a good place to start. But I also looked up CASA, which is the Center for Addiction and Substance Abuse. And I was looking at their definition on their website and a couple other government websites, because I want to get, what does the government say?
Yeah.
And the definitions I was finding were like 2 pages long, man, like crazy long. I was like, no wonder people don't know if they're addicted or not. This is like a crazy long definition.
Yeah.
And so through a series of events, somebody gave me part of a definition, and I just kind of took it and worked with it. So the definition itself, the core of it is not necessarily mine. I just kind of added on to it to make it my own. So the definition that I work with is a sustained and uncontrolled attempt to meet a valid need in an invalid way. Those 4 components.
I want to repeat that one more time for the people. And Josh, you got a deeper voice than me, so you can say it.
Yeah.
I got it wrote down right here.
Yeah. So,
I got my own notes.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so an addiction is a
sustained and uncontrolled attempt to meet a valid need in an invalid way.
So
I got a question for this one part of this definition.
Yeah.
And you were about to speak next.
Go
but
yeah.
When you say valid need, what do you mean?
So that's what Josh and I were talking about, is when you talk about, like, for instance, in sociology or psychology, you have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, those basic needs, the food, shelter, clothing. Yeah. But then there's also the relationships, the validation, acceptance.
And a lot of people don't they skip over that part.
Yeah, because they don't think it as need. They never make it.
They never make it.
Well, you got the people who are struggling to get food and shelter.
Yeah.
And so, this other stuff.
They never make it to
remember, it's a hierarchy.
It's hierarchy.
They never deal with the trauma part of life, like the part that
you can't climb a ladder at the top.
Yeah,
not starting at the top. You got to work that first rung. So if you don't start at the root of the issue, I don't know how you going to get to the mountain.
So the Maslow hierarchy needs, so people understand, at the bottom is what,
like basic, essential survival needs
to live.
That's your food, shelter, clothing, all that stuff.
Next section is what,
and then you move into things that are like social needs, where that's your acceptance, that's your validation. Even so much as sex. Sex is mentioned in there. Sexual relationships.
It is mentioned.
And those things are mentioned in there. And so you have this hierarchy of needs. You have all these things that people need to live just a simple life. Not like your best life, a simple life.
And they don't even get to level 2.
No, some of them don't even get to level 2.
Some don't get to level 2.
And so what happens is, okay, after we meet level 1, or even maybe not even before, but some of them we accomplish level 1, but then we get to this next level where we need validation, where we need security, where we need all these other things, acceptance. And we're looking for these things. So let me give you a great example of this. Hip-hop culture is a great example of it. Hip-hop culture says you got to have this car, you got to live in this kind of house, be with this kind of woman, you got to have all these things in order to be a valid person. And so when you go with that, then if I don't have those things, then I am an invalid person.
Well, you know what? I want to pause right here, because I'm a teacher too, and I teach my kids this. Don't fall in love with the image of things. Understand what's behind the image.
Right.
And so the image is what you're talking about. Yeah. People fall in love with their image and say, I got to have this car, this house, these clothes to be that person and a valid person. But the thing is, they don't understand that behind that image is a person.
Yeah.
It is a person already.
And so this is kind of what we talk about, like, for instance, in relationships. I'm going to make a small detour here, but I'm going to bring it back. In relationships, we fall in love with the idea of a person sometimes before we fall in love with who they really are. And so, so when we fall in love with the idea of a person, we get in these relationships and we feel like if we do these things, then we can go close that potential gap down from being who you who I perceive you are to who I want you to be. And so.
Well, I think this goes into our whole thing with standards and expectations.
I've been over here sitting, thinking about expectations.
It goes back to the standards and expectations. Like your expectation of me is that.
Yeah.
But who I am is this.
Yeah. And so, as I talk about my own addictions for your audience who don't know me that well, I battled sex and pornography addiction, and then an anger addiction, and I'll come back to the anger addiction in a minute. But sex and pornography, I battled those addictions for about 15 years. And the idea behind it was I wanted acceptance. That was what led me to it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted
acceptance from who, though?
Okay, well, let's back up. Let's go back to the home with mom and dad. I wanted acceptance from my parents. My parents loved me, and they did care about me, but they didn't show their acceptance in the way that I wanted to see it. That's the expectation we were talking about. They didn't show it the way I wanted to see it, so I perceived that it was not there. That led me to pornography, which acted as a form of comfort. I need comfort. I need to soothe my grieving that they're not accepting me. Then pornography.
So you had an expectation of them.
Yeah. So then pornography led me to sexual relationships.
Yeah.
And sexual relationships, as anybody who's had a pornography addiction knows, this is the chicken egg thing. It goes in a circle. If you're watching pornography, before long, you're going to be acting out.
Yeah.
Well, when you're acting out, you want to do what you see in the pornography.
Yeah.
And then the pornography gets more and more graphic, so you got to do more and more graphic stuff. And so it becomes this cycle that you're stuck in. And so I was there. I was stuck in that cycle. And what the pornography did was it provided comfort. What the sex did was it provided validation.
So there was pause real quick because the terms you're using and the words you're using with the terms are very important.
Yeah.
You said that the pornography was
comfort.
Comfort.
Yes. It didn't provide validation. It didn't make me feel any better about myself.
But it made you comfortable.
But it made me forget about what I was going through. And if I can put that in the back of my mind, I have the illusion of comfort.
I don't have to deal with it.
Right. And so then I had, with the sexual thing,
that was validation.
Yeah.
That was like
okay,
it validated everything that.
I have a partner who is pleased with my performance, and that's validation.
I am because
she says I am, therefore I am.
I am.
But you're not saying I am.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying I am because I feel like she said I am.
You know what? This addiction thing goes back to. Okay, so I've always made this this analogy. I have this theory. I have that men put their confidence into 4 different areas, essentially. They either put it into education, and they get all the degrees they need to get, and they the educated person that can't be told nothing.
Right.
Or they put it into women, and they get all the validation, the confidence they need from a woman, and if a woman is given to them, they take it.
Right.
Or they put their validation in money.
Right.
And so it's like, as long as I'm making money, I'm the man.
Right, exactly.
And the last one, though, is what you kind of describe. It's that comfort one.
Yeah.
It's not validation. It's like the comfort is what feeds these other 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never could put a word with that.
Yeah.
And comfort is good because the addiction doesn't start. What I'm hearing is the addiction doesn't start from the point of comfort. The comfort is what kind of fuels you to get to the validation, which is what's feeding the addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we talk about, in the recovery world, we talk about comfort being the enemy of change.
Okay.
If I am comfortable, what need have I to change? I'm not changing anything because I'm comfortable. And so when I become uncomfortable, that's when I want to change.
Yeah.
Now, that can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. For my case, not getting that acceptance from my parents the way I wanted it made me uncomfortable, and I moved to negative things. But likewise, as I was in my addiction, I grew uncomfortable with my situation. And that led me to get help.
Gotcha.
So comfort is the enemy of change. If I'm comfortable with my addiction, if I'm comfortable with just having random women in and out of my house and stuff like that, why would I change that?
There's no reason.
There's no reason to.
There's no cognitive.
The people with the money. If I'm comfortable with all this money I'm making, why would I make any other changes in my life?
And so you find comfort in things that are essentially killing you.
Yeah.
Just slowly.
Yeah. And that's why I said it's the illusion of comfort that we have. We don't actually have comfort in these things. It's the illusion of comfort. If you take it away, then it's going to kill this person. The quickest way for a woman to get into a man's head is to talk about the thing that he determines as his comfort. Like you talked about cars. if a woman starts talking about a man like, oh, that car is nothing, so and so got this car, she's